And a good walkthrough Wednesday, Eagle Nation. You've got your Birds 365 duo, Mac and Mac, here hanging with you, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. The countdown is on to Sunday Showdown. Just 4 days until the 49ers and Eagles get it on. Johnny Mac, does it seem like the clock's moving slowly, or is it just because Eagles played a Saturday game this week? It's an extra week. Just the words coming out of my mouth. 4 days until it feels like they should play in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, for me it's the opposite. It's sailing by because so much going on this week as far as the NFL coming in for the championship game, so much media availability, they amp it up. So it's these kind of weeks are kind of overwhelming. So yeah, it seems to go quickly for me, but I can understand from a fan standpoint, the anxiety, the waiting, all that kind of thing. But that's the NFL. I argue all the time. That's what fuels the NFL's popularity, the ability to sit back and think about these games as opposed to baseball where you're playing the next day or, you have maybe a day off in between the playoffs, and basketball where you have a day off and you're back at it usually. Football, man, you got all this time. And then we talked about during the bye week even more so. And plays tricks on your mind.
How much extra availability are they giving you guys this week?
Well, they're not giving it to us. I mean, it's the NFL the stepping in, and they take over things for people that don't know for the championship games and obviously the Super Bowl. So, the head coach has got to talk every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Jalen Hurts is going to talk twice this week. They're going to put players up at the podium, which they occasionally they do, but typically don't do. And that's all NFL driven. And it's part of being here. And distraction's a big part of this because more so for the Super Bowl. It's more obvious with the Super Bowl. You have media day and all that. But even the it amps up and there's more distractions. And if you go back to Nick Sirianni's Monday press conference, he was joking about it. He looked at Bob Lang, the Eagles PR guy, off camera. It was Zoom on Monday. He said, "You can ask me later in the week. I got some media availability." So he knows it's really amped up.
And that's good for Eagle fans. Maybe just the fan who wants to get the game underway, kickoff, let's rock and roll. But if you got more availability, whether it's NFL generated, however it comes about, if you get a better feel for the game before it actually gets here, that's a good thing. You got it with the coordinators yesterday. Happy Tuesday with both your DC and your OC here in Philadelphia. And Jonathan Gannon seemed to be in a good mood yesterday. But he said something that surprised me, Johnny Mac. He talked about what he believes is going to be the electricity in Lincoln Financial Field and compared it favorably to Minnesota, which is an indoor stadium where he coached before he got here and was there for the Minneapolis Miracle and said, oh, the link can be just as electric as that, which was, I thought, pretty high praise and a compliment. And he expects it to be just that on Sunday for the showdown against the Vikings. But he also said he doesn't think it'll be any more so for a rookie quarterback like Brock Purdy than any other quarterback coming in.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the things I think the Eagles need to be banking on, that the unbelievable crowd, the loudest crowd that Brock Purdy's ever going to have played to get in front of, will be 98% against him. For Minnesota, 2% of the tickets. San Francisco, 2% of the tickets. That's kind of what I'm leaning on as to one of the reasons why the Eagles are going to win this game. And JG just kind of poo-pooed that yesterday.
Yeah, he did. He can't. I wouldn't worry about that, Jody. That's sort of podium John Gannon versus non-podium John Gannon. I've talked about the Minnesota game with JG a lot over the years. He knew they were cooked. He knew they were cooked before they came into that environment. But for two reasons, a little bit.
So
when you
are
have
you
that,
suggesting this is like a in reverse covering for Case Keenum that
No,
you
no,
took
no,
then. And yeah, this might be Brock Purdy as
no.
he's just
This was. I'm not gonna say anything that can be taken out of context. Bulletin board on the podium that San Francisco can use, that kind of nonsense,
okay.
versus what he truly believes, which is, and he brought it up. He kind of contradicted himself because he's told me this numerous times in the past. Harrison Smith, who's a veteran player, all pro player, he mentioned him by name yesterday, and they both got on the field and they were like, "Woof, this is going to be tough." Um, yeah, this is going to be tough for Brock Purdy. He just didn't want to say it. And, that's one of the reasons why, I'm in this existential crisis myself trying to pick this game because, all year I've said San Francisco is the best team. My whole thought process was Trey Lance would give him a little bit more than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why I picked him to go to the Super Bowl. Um, Turns out it was correct, but it was the wrong player. Brock Purdy's given him a little bit more than Jimmy Garoppolo, and they are where they are. And if this game were in San Francisco, it wouldn't be that difficult for me. But the fact that it is in Philadelphia, this is the closest thing in modern times you're going to get to the Roman Coliseum. These people are vicious and they are unrelenting. And yeah, I don't think Brock Purdy's going to handle it well, to be perfectly honest. And that's why I'm seriously debating taking the Eagles. I don't know how he survives it, to be honest.
And Eagle
And
fans have
survive it, I mean, on the field, not
right.
off the field.
I get what you're saying. And I'm not predicting and projecting this, but I'm just getting John's read on it. Because again, you're truly doesn't get down to the games. I need to be here to be able to watch a bunch of games for my CBS show that I do on Sunday night. So I'm judging the crowd and the way that it plays via my TV. John's got a much better read on it because he's right there at the game every game. The Saints game this year, where the Saints were able to move the ball up and down the field against the Eagles. I know it was a Gardner game, Minshew game, not a Hurts game, but that was a game that the Eagles didn't control at home. Let's be honest, got outplayed at home. They lost the game fair and square. It wasn't like, oh my God, the ref screwed them or a bad bounce went against them that day. They got outplayed by a team below 500. Yes, still alive for the playoffs because of the weakness of the NFC South, but a below 500 team just the same. And I'm sure that the game started on a fever pitch because, again, it was a game that if the Eagles won, they knew they lacked up the division and home field advantage throughout, and they didn't get it. How much did the air come out of the stadium that day?
Well, a couple things. It does. And one of the things that's, I point out about Eagles fans, I just pointed out one of the good things. One of the bad things is if you're not playing well, um, they will turn on you pretty quickly. So, 3 3 and outs, 4 3 and outs. All of a sudden you hear the boos for the home team. So there's no doubt getting off to a good start is paramount for San Francisco, whether on their whether they're on the field offensively or defensively. You can take the air out of the stadium. I We were talking to somebody about that. I forget if you remember. There's certain places, Kansas City, Seattle, um, they're more forgiving of the home team, and they'll keep it up pretty much throughout the game, even if their team isn't performing the way they're expected to play. So from that standpoint, yeah, I mean you could turn it a little bit, but I can't compare any regular season game to any playoff game at the lake. There's a different energy. There's a different they amp it up even further. And we said 5 years to the day, 38-7, 38-7. Now, what you really want to go back to is the Atlanta game. if you play well, if you stay in the game, it's going to be difficult, but you're going to have a chance. If that snowball starts coming down the hill, look out because it's going to run right through you.
That I think we can all agree on, and Jonathan Gannon might agree, just wasn't saying yesterday because he was not going to provide any bulletin board material for the 49ers. And another thing that I think is kind of worked against the Eagles here is Mother Nature. Again, I keep checking the 5-day, first to 7-day forecast, now the 5-day forecast. It looks like kickoff, it's going to be 50 degrees, Johnny Mac. Late January, and it's going to be 50 degrees. No chance with precipitation at all. You're hoping at this time of the year, if you are a cold weather team, which the Eagles certainly are, Northeast, as compared to a California team coming in, that maybe you can get a little advantage in the conditions. Doesn't always work that way because Buffalo got the snow that they wanted last week. Didn't help them a little bit against Buffalo. But if you've got the chance, you hope that that's the case since you really have no control over it. Looks like it's going to be perfect California football weather for January this Sunday against the Eagles. Mother Nature does not look like she's going to do the Birds a favor.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's that big of a deal with this matchup. You know, to me, that's more important if you're playing like a dome team that's built for their home field and, built for the fast track and maybe you slow them down a little bit. San Francisco's it's Northern California. It's not Southern California. It's outdoors. Not that they have bad weather.
I was going to say, I don't think they get a lot of snow in San Francisco these days.
No, but they're built different. They're a physical team. That stats out there that I don't know. It's some weird teams that play San Francisco are like ridiculously bad the week after. The thought process being because they got beaten up a little bit. I don't think that matters as much in this matchup. Now, if we're Minnesota coming in, a dome team like it was in 2018, then I think it has a bigger effect. And the Eagles have good playmakers. The 49ers have good playmakers. I just don't think it's going to be that relevant either way. If it were a good day, if it were a bad day.
Who would you say is the better speed team?
San Francisco. I mean, they have more of manufactured touch players. So it's not even necessarily speed as much as footing. They're the team that's the yards after catch team. Not that the Eagles are bad at it. I mean, AJ's great at it, but AJ's usually so physical. He's carrying people. Dallas Goedert's so physical. He's carrying people.
Yep.
They're more, juking and jibing and eyewash and that kind of stuff. San Francisco, with their playmakers. So a little bit, I would say, they're the little bit more. If you were in a dome, if it were in the Super Bowl, if it were in a dome stadium, neutral field, they probably have a slight advantage, but not big.
And that's what I'm getting at. And again, not a big advantage. I'm with you on that. It could have been worse for the 49ers. They could have been coming in here to a slick field and 28 degrees and maybe even some precipitation, which could have slowed down their faster running offense. And it looks like that's not going to happen on Sunday. So I think that's a break that hasn't happened yet, but it's not going to happen for the Eagles on Sunday. All right, Jody Mac, Johnny Mac, we are the Mac guys. We got two good Eagles specific guests for you today. The first up is going to be our bud Mike Gill from down the shore, the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. He joins us each and every single Wednesday. He'll join us coming up next. And a little bit later, Jimmy Kempski, our buddy from PhillyVoice.com, one of the best Eagle beat guys, does it day in and day out. I said, Kempski, we need you. It's championship week. He said, all right, I'm in for Wednesday. So hour number 2, Jimmy Kempski going to join us. First up, though, Mike Gill from the Sports Bash down the shore. Going to jump in with Mac and Mac on Birds